know that sadness and strife may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I agree to speak at a faculty class today so that I can bring the message that joy comes in the morning. I don't like it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So welcome to the morning. It is both a privilege and an honor to stand before you today. We gather in the spirit of faith, of hope, and a sense of history and community to reflect on the remarkable accomplishments of African Americans. I hope today that we celebrate the strength, resilience, and unwavering faith that has shaped our past, that will shape our today, and that must shape our future from lessons learned. The journey that I'll discuss today is not one that just focuses on history. It will focus on what we should have learned from history and what lessons we need to embed into our lives today. The primary lesson today that I want you to understand is the power of God working in and through his people. Hence, we celebrate all of God's people today. I want to take you to just a minor bit of history to suggest to you that African Americans had a history before we arrived in America as slaves. In Africa, for centuries, as kings and queens, we celebrated rich traditions. We had a vibrant culture. And unbeknownst to most, we had deep spiritual beliefs. Many African Americans were already familiar with God before Christianity was introduced to the country. It is important to understand that Africans before slavery understood and believed in a creator. They believed in a higher power. They believed in the divine. They understood the value of community and the sacredness of life. So the African American journey that most of you are aware of is the one where we were picked up with really bad travel arrangements and brought to what we call America today. The circumstances of that travel were that we were put into the belly of boats, and those boats did not have air conditioning like we have today. Those boats did not have comforts like we had today. Those boats were wet and full of fungus and diseases. They were hot and painful, and people died in the transatlantic trade, bringing kings and queens from Africa to America. It is amazing because what we understood is they experienced great hardship. It means that the weak died in transit. And the only individuals that arrived in America were the strong. We come from the strong, and we will remain strong. In the midst of that brutality, their strength and faith were preserved. Even though they had been stripped from their homeland, they found strength to endure and overcome via their faith. No amount of brutality, no circumstance, no obstacle, no pain, no suffering, no poor travel arrangements. They didn't have AAA back then. Were more powerful than their faith. I want you to understand as we think about a future that their bodies were bound, but their spirits were not. Their bodies were bound, but their minds were liberated. They knew that a better tomorrow was on the horizon. The church, including Catholicism, has always been at the heartbeat of the African American experience. It's a place where we gather to mourn, where we gather to pray, to plan, and to pray. From the first day of slavery, we sought solace and strength in the church, even when it was used as a tool to divide us. African American identity was with Jesus because he too suffered and had pain. We identified with his journey. It was in the church that African Americans found their voice, literally and metaphorically, through spirituals, through gospel music, and through hymns. Their songs, much like the songs of today, were expressions of hope, a promise of freedom, and a deep, unshakable belief that the night does not last forever. Morning always comes. The church then and now was a central gathering place for our people, where they could be restored, uplifted, and healed. It's a place where they waited for the moment. Through times of joy and sorrow, African Americans have found a steady foundation in God and in the church. Our faith passed from generation to generation gives us courage to face adversity. Our faith from generation to generation gives us strength to stand for justice. Our faith passed from generation to generation gives us a loud voice. This is why I don't need a microphone this morning. To speak out against oppression. We are only as strong as our hope is. And so our goal has always been to lift everyone. In times of great suffering, African Americans have turned to prayer and the scripture. The stories in the scripture are not just historical for us. It often is deeply personal. Don't know if you remember your geography, but we were taken from Western Africa. We were removed even from Central Africa. And in some cases, we were moved from Eastern Africa. There was no place of silence. I also hope you remember from history that much of the activity of the Bible is right there in Northern Africa. We were on the same continent, having different and similar experiences. African American culture, as a result, has been premised on faith and the belief of a better tomorrow. Whether through our rhythms of music and dance, the intimacy and beauty of our poetry and lyrics, the warmth and closeness of our families, or the faith and the belief that a tomorrow can be better, we understand that God sometimes puts you on your knees to give you an opportunity to look up. We are saying this may be a time to look up. I'm getting close to my end for anybody who is looking forward to my end. When we celebrate Black History Month, we are not just remembering the past. We are acknowledging our very complex journey and the fact that the work is not over. Our legacy is one of continual work, of deepening faith, and of reaching toward a future with hope. We are acknowledging that our today is tomorrow's history. So what we do each morning when the sun arises, how we spend our hours and our days is relevant to the future. Today we stand at a crossroads where it is exceptionally important that we look back and we understand how far we have come. It is also important that we look forward and understand what work has yet to be done. We must still battle injustice, inequity, and those who seek to minimize our contributions to the earth. We must fight the eradication of our history from America. For when and only when our journey has been acknowledged, will healing begin for everyone. We remain a people of faith, rooted in a long and rich tradition of connection to God, faith, and church. The moment that you've been waiting for, that's right there. I'm there. On this Friday morning, hope, faith, and the belief of a better day has gotten us through. I am honored to remind us that the same factors are required for tomorrow. The African American experience is simply an opportunity to remind the world that no matter how dark things get, the morning will always come. God bless.